Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Cassie. I know I'm a minute early. I'm running a little bit behind, so we might start a couple minutes late as I just get everything together. But I'm excited to be here with you guys. Let me share my screen real quick. We're doing plant-based nutrition today. I'm excited about that. My wheelhouse, I love it. Perfect. Got my screen shared with you guys. And I'll be back in a couple minutes. So if you just joined us, I see 2 people are watching. If you just joined me, I need a couple minutes. I'm a little bit behind today, but I just got to get myself together here. And then I will be right back in the next couple minutes, and we will go through all the plant-based nutrition that you have ever wanted. So hang tight, okay? Okay, I'm back. Okay, so if you're just now joining, I put a link and I hope you can see it. If not, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So I created this webinar, a notes page. So if you want, you can, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes as I intro. You can click that link. Actually, you're gonna have to, it's not clicking like a link, but you can go to the comments and copy and paste it into the browser, and you'll see a notes page like this. You can take a minute. It's a 3-page long, so you can take some notes while you watch the webinar. If you're very much a techie person and you download it and then you can write on your iPad or whatever that looks like, you can. Or if you're watching on your phone, you can definitely do it later, rewatch it. But there are notes, if you would like, you can download them, print them off, and follow along and just have a notes thing to go back to from here. But there's a couple different kinds of people that are gonna watch this, whether you're watching it live or watching it later on. Some of you are patients, and you either have been a patient for a long time and this is your 50th webinar that you've watched, but it just hasn't quite clicked yet with nutrition, and plant-based has stuck out to you and you're like, what does that mean? I think I want to do that. You may have watched some of the videos that we've played in our office, the documentaries that talk about different meats and going a more vegetarian type of a diet or cutting meat out completely. You've seen what it can do for your health, so you're like, maybe I should try it. Or you might be a newer patient and this could be the very first webinar that you've watched and you've loved nutrition, or you want and are starting to change some of your lifestyle from being in our office and you just want to plug in. This is a great webinar for you to start off with, for sure. I think that even some of you might be nutritionists yourself, or you're just looking to see what it is that we do. You might have found us on Eventbrite or Facebook and you're just checking out what it is that we believe and maybe even want to partner with us. And that is awesome too. And I hope that you do. So please reach out to us if that is you. And for some of you, you might be here because of your spouse, and your spouse is trying to change their diet. So they're also trying to change maybe some of the things that you think. And I just want you to know that I welcome you too. that by being on webinars like this, you're never going to be at the end of the webinar and wish that you were never on it. It's kind of like a workout. Like nobody ever really regrets a workout necessarily, depending on how hard someone worked you out. But when you're a part of learning about nutrition, the more and more that you do that, the part of like learning about living a healthy lifestyle, you never usually regret the fact of being a part of it or watching it and seeing it. It will either start the process of living a healthier lifestyle for you, or it solidifies what you might already know. So no matter who you are listening, this is a great webinar to be a part of. And the ones that are going to come afterwards, which we will talk about at the end, all of our upcoming events that you're going to want to be a part of, that you're going to want to be involved in. So make sure that you watch all the way until the end, so then that way you know what is coming up next. So those of you that are new or you've been a part of this, you know that I love to honor you and thank you for being on here virtually. This is absolutely still new to us, and we're still learning about how to put on a great webinar, have great information delivered to you, even if you are halfway listening or busy while you're doing it. I just want to honor you for being a part of it. So the best way, though, that I know that you're listening is to comment or say hello and that you're here. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we can see them all right here in the program that we use. So if you are here and you want to say hello, I want to honor every single time that you comment. And if you know, some of you have, the more entries that you have, the better opportunity that you get to win a $50 gift card that I will email to you at the very end. I put everybody's name that has made a comment and put it into a drawing, and you might be a winner of a $50 gift card. You have to be live to do it. Key says hello. So Key, you get the first entry into winning the Whole Foods gift card. We try to do it pretty quickly after the webinar so that you get it in and you can maybe buy some groceries and use it for plant-based nutrition, whatever that looks like. Courtney, hi. Glendon, hi. We miss you. Glendon's moved to Minnesota and we miss him, but you can always be on these webinars and you can share it. You can tag somebody in it at the end. Please, if you're like, somebody needs to hear this, share it with them. That's really the only way that we usually have information, is sharing it with others. So comment as many times as you want. Say great, awesome, ask any questions that you want all the way through, and I'm going to leave time at the end to make sure to answer anything that wasn't answered as we go through. A reminder, if you're just on, this link at the very top right here, you can download some notes pages if you want to. They are filler in the blankers. So if you print it off and have time to do that, you can, or do it later, no big deal, but it is available to you if you would like. Okay, let me get my screen together and we are going to move along. I'm going to do something different. Nikki is in the office today, so it's just me running the show, but we should be good to go. So let's first talk about your mindset. Like, really do a self-check of where you are at nutrition-wise. And I want you to be very honest with yourself and rate yourself. Oops. If you see in the notes page, I talk about like ranking yourself 0 to 10. Like, where are you at nutritionally? And be honest. No one else is looking at this but you. But the more that you're honest with yourself about where you're at nutritionally, the better that it's going to be. Okay. We all want to be at a 10. I'm not even at a 10, like nutritionally. But I will tell you I'm at an 8 or a 9 when it comes to that. The reason I don't give myself a 10 is because I'm not perfect. And over the weekend was Labor Day and I didn't follow a full on plan that I normally would have, but I give myself grace with that. But I years ago would give myself probably a 3 or a 4. And knowing that I'm not going to go from a 3 to a 4 to a 10 overnight, but to watch myself as I gradually got better and better and better to be able to know what I'm doing with nutrition. But if you say that your nutrition is important to you, I want you to be able to back that up to be like, no, it really is. Like, look at my bank account, like look at my meal plan and meal preps, like look at what I'm doing, like that what your action steps are backing up the check that you give yourself. So for example, like if you've heard of this quote before, when you find out what's important to someone, all that you need to look at is their checkbooks and their credit card statements. And I'm not saying that you need to spend all of your money on your food. That's not what I'm saying. But by how much time and energy and effort are you spending on making sure that the food that you're putting inside of your body and your family's body is healthy? And if I did that, I would look at what it looks like on the counter, and I would look at what it looks like, what food are you buying? Like, where are you going? Where are you shopping? Where are you eating? What restaurants are you choosing? Which places are you going? That's going to help us to know where you're at. Like, do you say no to certain foods? Like, do you make a conscious thought, a conscious effort of what you're putting inside of your body? Or is it just kind of like a free-for-all? And you have to account for that. Because if nutrition was easy, we'd all be doing it. Wouldn't be as hard to figure out as it actually is. But what I want to do today specifically is make sure that we are breaking through some of those mental barriers that we might have that hasn't quite gotten us from maybe a 3 to a 4, or a 4 to a 5, or a 2 to a 6, like a 6 to a 7. Like, where is that barrier that's keeping us from continuing to improve on our nutrition? Some of the most common barriers, and I want you, if you're listening, like, and if you are brave enough, if you want to give me what yours are, like, where is the biggest holdup that you might know, you might not know, and it might come up as I'm going through. If I read one and you're like, yep, that's mine, share it, because you're not alone. There's going to be others that are going to be like, absolutely, yep, mine too. That's exactly what it is. But here's some of the common barriers. Number one, conflicting information or misinformation. And what that sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, like, there is so much information out there. And Kayla, if you are listening, your question that you asked me, she emailed me after the last one, and she was like, how do you freaking know which one to do? And I get it. Like, should you do keto? Should you do plant-based? Should you do vegan? Should you do vegetarian? Like, should you do Whole30? Should you do this? Should you do that? There's a lot of information when it comes to which ones. Like, there's thousands of books, the amount of television shows, magazines, programs, all of that, there's tons. And so sometimes that barrier that we need to break, you're not really sure which one you should do, that can sometimes hold you up from actually taking action on which nutrition plan to do, that you just don't do any of them. Another one is that not wanting to feel deprived. So usually the term just diet in general, that's why I didn't write plant-based diet. I try not to say like keto diet, Whole30 diet. I try not to use that word, because a lot of times diet is associated with deprivation. And so, like, if you really think about it, like, we all love cakes and cookies and pizza and all of that, because there's comfort to it. There's emotions that are attached to it. But the mindset of feeling deprived, if we're like, I'm not even going to do anything because I'm not going to not eat those things, can keep us from doing it. So we don't want to deprive ourselves. So sometimes it keeps us as a mental barrier. The other one is having short-term goals, or not having quite as many, like, I like to call them like big whys. Like, we just don't have that big why. We have short term. So what that sounds like, though, is like your intention, I just want to lose 10 pounds. And here's what usually happens with that is when you lose 10 pounds, like, you can do that actually pretty easy. You can absolutely do it unhealthy is what I'm talking about. Like, you can unhealthily lose 10 pounds pretty quickly. Cold turkey, you can starve yourself, you can work out yourself to death, you can do all of those things, and you can lose 10 pounds pretty quick. But usually what happens is once the 10 pounds is lost, you're like, praise, and then we go back into bad habits. And so sometimes that can be a barrier if we don't have a big enough reason why we want to do that. That's why it hasn't lasted as long, and that's why we go from January 1, have amazing motivation, and then crash. The other one is budget concerns. so it costs too much to eat healthy. And the biggest thing I'm just going to say with this is that healthy food costs nothing compared to what it costs for medical bills. And that's the only thing that, yes, I know that a pound of grass-fed beef costs more than conventional beef. I know it. I understand it. I get it. But when we're eating unhealthily and we don't get our nutrition in check, when you look at all the research in American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, all of them, lifestyle-related issues, problems, food that we're eating, they address it in every single one of them. But the amount of cost that it takes to care for someone with cancer or diabetes or in the hospital because of a lifestyle-induced disease, it's astronomical, and it pales in comparison to what it costs for food. And then the other couple are like unsustainable diets. And that has a lot to do with even some of the short-term goals, is like things that are unsustainable, like over time. Like I even think like counting calories is not really a sustainable thing, but we think so many times that we count the calories and we burn calories this direction that it's going to match. But calories from almonds and calories from Twinkies, like we can make them match, but the quality of the food that we have is not the same. And it's hard to sustain that over and over and over again, counting how many points you can have, how many proteins, carbs, like on the keto diets. Like I did that, but it wasn't sustainable for me. And so a lot of times breaking through some of those can help. And then the last one is a more mental, and that's your past failure when it comes to trying different nutritional things. And it really messes with your mind. You know, it's like, I tried it. It doesn't work for me. I just can't do it. Like, I just can't do this for 30 days. Like, I can never lose weight. My body's just different. I'm big boned. Like, I don't know if people say that anymore, but it's really, really important to wipe the slate clean. I can't stress that enough, because a lot of times we know the difference between what we're supposed to eat and what we shouldn't. I just talked to a patient talking about dairy. She's like, I've cut out meat completely, but dairy, I know that I shouldn't. I even know that my family history has a lot of like estrogen producing things that could come from eating dairy and all that. Like, they have cancers like in her family that she knows, but she just hasn't done it. She knows she really needs to not, but there's this mental barrier because it's like, can I actually do it? Can I really do this? But you're not alone when it comes to any one of these barriers. You say, yes, there's just so many options when it comes to eating. And I know I'm going to give you another option when it comes to what you can do from paleo, keto. I've done all the webinars except for this one. I did this one live in April before Corona and all of that. But breaking through these mental barriers is a big one. It's a really big one. And being able to identify what that barrier is going to take you to the next level, or even just help you have a clean slate before you even start. So that's why I spend a lot of time when it comes to mindset stuff, because a lot of times that's what nutrition is. We know what needs to go in our body usually, but it's saying yes and no to different things and being able to have the stamina to withstand the things that are going to come at you, because it's hard. It's hard. But I'm going to break it down for you today to make it simple and easy for you. So a reminder, if you're just joining us, make sure if you want to comment, do all of that. We're doing a $50 gift card to Whole Foods for every comment, every yes, all the awesome things. When you respond to me virtually, it helps me on this end. So I just want to honor you and continue with that. So let's really get into what exactly is a plant-based diet. It's not vegan though, and it's not vegetarian by definition. Now, is that considered plant-based? Yes, and we're going to go through each one of those. But plant-based really means whole foods. Like, all things processed and packaged is very limited in a plant-based diet. So whole, unrefined, minimally processed ingredients inside of the food that you're eating. Hey, Alan, good to see you. What's fun about plant-based is that there's a lot of things that you might already know that are very much plant-based diets, like Mediterranean diets. So you might have like from Italy, Greece, all of that, like maybe not Italy, but like more Greece and like the Mediterranean foods and countries, they are considered plant-based diets, vegan diets, raw diets. Those are very typical of plant-based, but you're going to include things like vegetables, fruits, starches, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds, and healthy fats like coconuts and olives, which are going to go through that here in a minute. But when it comes to plant-based diet, I want you to think about your plate. So a plant-based diet is going to have a majority, like 80% of your plate will be completely plant-based. So no meats, no animal products, everything that comes from a plant. So a nut, a seed, a vegetable, a grain, that is going to be the majority of your plate. The rest of the 20% can be considered protein, like 20% protein, or it could be 10% protein, 10% like healthier fats. Whether that's an animal fat or a plant fat, that is really up to you. So what's nice about a plant-based diet is you can work with some of the majority of like what's going on your plate. They've done research and they've analyzed like some of the largest, longest living civilizations like that are in the world. For example, like Okinawa, Japan, they eat a diet comprised mainly of over 80% of their carbs coming from whole food plant-based. Key's like, I didn't know you could eat meat on plant-based. Yes, you can. And that's why I love doing these webinars, is because some of you, I am going to go through vegan and vegetarian. So in a second, like some of you, like, I don't want to eat meat. You don't have to. But some of you, you might be like, I don't know if I can give up meat completely. That's fine. You can still be considered a plant-based eater by having the majority of your plate to be vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, legumes, beets. So kind of crazy, kind of at the same time that you can customize this. Like plant-based is very customizable, but the going back to what I was talking about, it's like Okinawa, Japan has some of the longest living people because the majority of their foods are all plant-based, So they actually make it a conscious effort to have the majority of their plates not meat, which is really cool. So let's talk about the vegan diet. Vegan diet, like that one right there, you see eating healthy is boring, tasteless, and too hard. That is very much also a common mental barrier that people get when they do this, is especially with vegan. They're like, ugh, like no thanks. But what happens, vegan diets are 100% plant-based. Like there's no animal products whatsoever, no meat, no fish, no dairy, no eggs. Plant-based, on the other hand, like you can also have some animal foods, dairies, eggs, and fish as well. But I was vegan for about 2.5 years. And if you listen to the blood type webinar that I did last month, I talked a lot about my blood type is A positive. And so if you're an A blood type, a vegan plant-based diet is very much a good thing for you. And I thrived on a vegan diet. The only thing that really kept me from being completely vegan was cheese. Like I could not eat meat and I would be totally fine. But I would struggle with cheese. It would just be what it is. I don't have to eat eggs, none of that stuff. But this has gained, like eating vegan has gained a lot of popularity, especially after the Game Changers documentary that's on Netflix. You might have watched it, and they talk about a lot of athletes going completely vegan, which I love. I think it's super great. But there are some concerns with eating a vegan diet. And so one of them is having a deficiency in B12. And you may have heard this before if you've researched some of it. The main reason is because B12 usually comes from animal products, mainly meat. B vitamins are found there. So one of the things that can happen with veganism is the deficiency in that vitamin. So I do recommend taking it, like if you're going to eat a completely vegan diet. There are definitely some, and I don't think I have them on here, but I can write that down and I will. B vitamin vegan sources that you can get things from, but mainly the majority of it is coming from meat. So that is one concern. The other concern would be like your omegas, like your fat ratios, because like omega-3s usually come from fish, like not having enough fish inside of your diet. So that can sometimes be a concern. But you can also get plenty of omega-3s from vegan sources, which I will actually go through here in just a second. But they have done a lot of research. So when it comes to research, and you can find research supporting meat and you can find research supporting vegans, but when it comes to the vegan diets, like they have considerable, hands down, lower risk for obesity and prevention of diseases like diabetes, especially going completely plant-based. In 2014, they did a study that appeared in the journal Nutrients, and they compared the nutritional quality of a vegan, a vegetarian, a semi-vegetarian, a pesco-vegetarian, which is fish and vegetables, and omnivore's diet, which is basically plant-based, eating all the things. And they found that vegan diets, so 100% plant-based, were actually too low in certain nutrients such as calcium, while vegetarians, semi-vegetarians, pesco-vegetarians had better nutrient quality overall. So it's like you can see different things, mainly vegan. I mean, like calcium deficiency, they probably say it's because you need to drink milk. I'm not so keen on that one, or like having cheese and things, but just seeing that there's some different things that are good. So applying some different things, you're gonna have to figure it out for yourself. This is where it's like you see all this research, you see all of these things, but really figure out how your body feels, test it too. So I love having blood work. I love having urine analysis. I love having those things so that we can see as you change things nutritionally, how your body responds to what you are eating. But knowing that there are some things that certain nutrients are lower on vegans, lower on different thhave I am also like making sure that you're consuming the right stuff. When it comes to vegans, I have a problem with looking at people's carts at the supermarket, at the grocery store. And I'll never forget the time I was at Whole Foods and I saw this lady and she's putting all the things up there. And she had Oreos, she had Teddy Graham, she had pasta, she had rice, she had all these things. And she was talking to the cashier. She was saying like, she's vegan. And I was like, huh. Pasta's vegan, Oreo cookies are vegan, Teddy Grahams are vegan. Like you can get a lot of unhealthy vegan food on top of it. And that's not what I want for you to know from this webinar, is that doing things just like you can do unhealthy keto, unhealthy paleo, unhealthy all of that, you can very much be unhealthy plant-based, unhealthy vegan. Like you can definitely have bread on vegan, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get all your nutrients. So I think that a lot of the studies that they're doing, and for what I've seen, is that you can do this very unhealthy as well. And perhaps what was happening is that even though they were considered 100% vegan, they weren't getting enough of the nutrients they needed because they weren't eating enough vegetables and enough of the things that have those nutrients of calcium, like kale and all of that in there, that their nutrients were depleted significantly by not doing it the right way. So that's what we're going to start to go through, is like, how do we do this the right way to make sure that we don't have a depleted amount of nutrients in our body? Amen. So the science behind all of this, like having a healthy eating plan that is balanced, is where even Harvard has done research saying that the latest and best scientific evidence shows that a plant-based diet rich in vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, healthy proteins, healthy proteins are lowering the risk of weight gain and chronic disease. And Key, that's so true. She's like, that is one of my concerns, is not getting enough nutrients. And it's absolutely true. Like, if we don't do this in a healthy way, then we're not going to get enough nutrients. Plus, even as well as we eat 99% of the time, we still take supplements. I'm going to go through that. It's like, where are you going to see some of the deficiencies with eating because the quality of our food isn't there? Like, the soil that it's grown in, are we getting it from local farmers? Probably not. We're getting it from the grocery store, and they picked it too early, and so then they had to, and it's right, so then they don't get the nutrients when they just let it go the entire way. Like, that is a very big concern. And so I'm going to go through all of that when it comes to each one of these. But like the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, they're seeing that experts are believing that these diets are beneficial in helping not only adults when it comes to diseases that we think about adult-wise, diabetes, cancer, all of that, obesity, but actually children are doing way better on the front when we actually think about their nutrition and having it more plant-based. And I don't know, some of you might be moms out there and you're like, oh, this is my biggest struggle. And it's true. It's because if we don't start kids off with plant-based, then they might not grow into the adults that we want for them to be able to know the nutrition. And it starts with us, though, to be able to teach and to show and what that looks like and start to gradually change some things so that not only adults, but our kids, we're not just putting in empty calories and not getting enough nutrients as they're growing and developing, as our bodies are turning over as we age, to make sure that they have all the nutrients that they need. So the biggest thing is we have to make sure science-wise, there's so much research when it comes to it. Here's another one, like the University of Oxford Cancer Research Center. They showed that in general, a plant-based / vegetarian diet provided relatively higher amounts of complex carbohydrates, omega-6 and all of those things. But a plant-based diet can be very healthy for people. You just have to make sure that you have enough omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin B12 and minerals like zinc. So I love the research because it's talking about, it's all supporting it, but we just have to make sure, like you said, Key, that I'm getting enough of the nutrients that I need inside of my body. The last thing I'm going to say on the science is we're not using food to treat things. So like diabetes, cancer, and I talk about like obesity, what that looks like for kids, like whether it's like ADD, ADHD. What I want to say with the science when it comes to this is that what you're doing is going to provide your body with the nutrients that it needs so that it can heal. So when we provide our body, it's kind of like a car, like your car. Like your car doesn't usually use diesel fuel unless you have a diesel truck or a big truck that you drive. And if you put diesel fuel that runs your car in it, not too long down the road, it's done. Like it will not work no matter how many times you turn it. Or let's say that it stops working and you got a little rust on the side, you get new tires, so you clean the rust, you get a new paint job, you get new seats on the inside, you do all of that, you get a new stereo system. It doesn't matter, it's not gonna work. No matter how much you make the outside look good, your body is no different, yet you care for your car way better than you do your own body on the inside, yet we only get one body. The way that our body runs is off of the food that we nourish it with. And so the more that we're eating nourishing foods and making sure that we have all the things that our body needs, the better that our organs are going to run on the inside. And we don't have to worry about all the things on the outside because that'll just line up where it needs to be because the inside is healing from that aspect. So forget even all Harvard, forget Oxford, all of that stuff for a second, and just think about the reality of this machine and this body that we've been given to make sure that we are giving it the nutrients that we need. It's designed a certain way. If God wanted you to eat McDonald's every day, he would have made it, but he actually didn't. Somebody said to me over the weekend, God created Snickers bars. And I was like, well, actually, he did not make those Snickers bars, man-made Snickers bars for us to like eat that's creating havoc. Like, no. Nope. God gave us all the things, the vegetables and the fruits and all that stuff, the plants and the seeds and the animals on the earth. He gave that to us to eat. So we need to go from complicating it to just going back to where our bodies need the nutrients from plants and seeds and a little bit of meat in our diet and keep it to just that. We don't have to complicate it. We can actually make it really, really, really simple. Okay? So let's get into it. You ready? So here are your plant-based foods. Vegetables, having fresh fruit, healthy fats, whole grains, healthy proteins, and then I do want to talk about liquids. So having more water and unsweetened drinks, because sometimes we can get really good with our food and then we forget how much the things that we're drinking is really affecting our body. So I want to talk about that at the very end. Love it. Love it, Melissa. Our bodies are created to heal on their own. Not everything needs a medication to heal from. That is coming from a pharmacist. And love it. You get it, Melissa. Sharon, love it. Love that you guys are on. Okay, let's talk about vegetables. I love this picture because it just really represents what vegetables need to look like in our diet, and it's like a rainbow. Having a rainbow of vegetables in our diets is really what it's all about. It's aiming for that variety. Some of these things you might be like, what is even that? I've never seen that before. And that's like when I first started to eat more vegetables. I had to make a decision to be open with different vegetables that I had never seen before or ever tried. So anytime that I saw a recipe where I was like, what is bok choy? Or what is an artichoke? I've never cooked an artichoke. I know spinach artichoke dip, but yeah, probably not healthy for me. So how can I cook and make some of these things that God put on this earth that I would enjoy and that I would like and that I would love, and I could cook and learn a little bit more about vegetables? So sometimes our mind has to change a little bit and try different recipes with different kinds of vegetables that we've never heard before. Or if one recipe doesn't turn out, it doesn't mean that that vegetable is awful all the time. It just might be that we didn't cook it very well. And to find a recipe that we like with a bunch of vegetables that are inside or out wherever, inside the store, inside your garden, wherever that is. But vegetables are very much nutrient dense. So this is how we get calcium. This is how we get vitamins. This is how we get minerals. This is how we get magnesium. Like kale has more magnesium and calcium in it, like especially calcium than cheese does and milk. Kale. Nobody's going to tell you that, but you get so many nutrients from eating greens, collards, spinach. All of that has so many nutrients that if you eat those, you're not going to be deprived of any nutrients. They're also very low in calories too. Like they're not high. They don't. And the other part about what's really good about these is that there's no label usually on them. So you know exactly what is inside of there. The only thing I will say about vegetables, well, I'll say two things when it comes to like what you want to watch out for is if you can buy them organic, please do. The amount of pesticide residue and what that does inside of our digestive system, we don't want that. So if you can buy them organic, awesome. If not, I want you to go to the EWG.org. I will post it right here, EWG.org. It is called the Environmental Working Group. And the Environmental Working Group every year tests vegetables and fruits and to see what their pesticide load is, like how much pesticides are on there, how much pesticide residue, which helps them to determine which ones you should buy organic and which ones you should not buy organic. So you can save money by buying different fruits and vegetables non-organic, and they have what's called a Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. And so you buy the Dirty Dozen has the most amount of pesticides on it, buy those ones organic. The conventional ones you can buy clean 15. You can save money that way. The second thing, when you include vegetables into your diet, I talked about a variety of different vegetables, yes. But I also want you to eat them in a variety of different ways. So that might look like in soups, in stews. It might look like steaming them, roasting them, eating them completely raw, slicing them, dicing them, sauteing them, all of that. Find different ways to make these foods. I mean, the easiest way, of course, is to straight up roast them, because you just put avocado oil, coconut oil, salt, pepper, put them in, you can put them however, seasoning, spices, put them in, leave it, be done in 15, 20 minutes, ready to go, eat it. But you also want to make sure, I want to encourage some raw vegetable eating too. I'm going to share with you guys a hummus recipe, and having some raw vegetables to dip hummus in is a great way to get some of that raw, nutrient dense, where it hasn't been broken down by the heating process, into your diet. Get good antioxidants, get good even probiotics that come from different foods. You can ferment them like kimchi, sauerkraut. So you can do lots of different things with that. Do different varieties of vegetables, but aim to eat about 4 to 6 different kinds of vegetables every day when it comes to your diet, and aim to eat the rainbow around. Okay? If, however, you're like 4 to 6 different kinds of vegetables in one day, are you kidding me? I get it. And we try as much as we can, but even with us, we always do greens powder. The way to make sure that you get all your vegetables in and solidify it all is to do a greens powder. We love it. This is one we do every single day. We put it in our smoothies. We've been doing 2 smoothies a day, so we're getting like lots of vegetables in and are very much plant-based right now. Is the chocolate original berry. Those of you that are on, you probably know you either have greens powder at home or you've sampled it. If you haven't, we have samples in the office, but this has 15 plus servings of vegetables per scoop. And the scoop is only just a little tiny thing that you can put in. It's not like a huge chunk like this, but what's nice about these greens powders, and the reason we carry this kind of greens powder, is it dissolves in water, so you don't have like chunks floating in there, and 2, it tastes really great. So you can put this straight up in water. We've had people get off of coffee because it's like energized them, because they hadn't had vegetables, and they had all these vegetables. They didn't need coffee for what it was used for them. I drink coffee because I just love it. We also usually do it in the middle of the day. If we feel like we have a slump and we need some energy, we will do straight greens powder. So we just do basically like a shot of vegetables in our bodies, and we are good to go, on top of trying to get the 4 to 6. We don't always meet it, so we love to have this in we put it in our refrigerator. You don't have to, but we have it in our fridge. We put it in there. We have it as we need to. And all of our featured products tonight are 15% off. You can text the office, April and Nikki, especially April's out there, 615-927-4571, and get your product order if you need it. If you need something else that's not featured, it's 10% off. The only thing we don't discount are essential oils, coconut oil, eggs, or meat in our office. But text the office and we'll make sure that we get you your products. Let's talk about fresh fruit. So fresh fruits can look a couple different ways. Of course, I want you to get it absolutely fresh, like not frozen, definitely not canned or like in a syrup. Next best would be frozen. So we do a lot of berries frozen because we do a lot of smoothies. We don't usually have a ton of, we have blueberries in our, fresh blueberries in our fridge right now for some snacks. But we usually do Granny Smith apples as our fresh fruit. Dr. Michael loves to eat those as a snack. But when it comes to fresh fruit on a plant-based diet, aiming for 1 to 3 pieces of whole fruit every day is a great idea. Now, this does not mean juice. So the reason I'm saying this does not mean juice is because of what a fruit is. So if you didn't know this, like fruits have sugar in them, and there are some that have more sugars than others. So I recommend doing any berry, the majority of like your fruits, any berry, blueberry, strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, or Granny Smith apples. They're the lowest on the glycemic index, as opposed to like a watermelon or a banana or a pineapple. They have more sugar in them. But if you just drink watermelon juice, or even hard to get like straight blueberry juice and like apple juice, but Granny Smith apples are usually not what it is. When you have a juice, it's stripped of all the fiber that is found inside of fruit. So when you have fiber and you have sugar inside of your body at one time, it doesn't make the sugar go straight up into your bloodstream like this. The fiber slowly distributes the sugar throughout your system. So then you don't have a big blood sugar spike. It can go slowly over it. So that's why having the entire fruit at one time is a very good idea. That's how it was designed. There is a time and a place for juicing, but for what I'm talking about specifically for here, you really would like to, I would really like for you to do 1 to 3 pieces of the entire fruit in a day. Berries are your best choice, but if you like a certain fruit, just don't eat like 12 bananas. Like a banana, fine here and there. Morning is better because your body can burn off any of the sugars, but it's okay. It's all right. 1 to 3 servings of fresh fruit, okay? Healthy fats. Yes, Sharon, 4 to 6 veggie servings, 1 to 3 fruit servings, low glycemic is where you want to stay. Exactly. Healthy fats. So healthy oils are going to be, healthy fats are going to be a great thing that's going to help keep you full, and make sure, from what the research is saying, that your omegas are equal where they need to be. So 3, 6, and 9, we want them to be about 2 to 1 to 1 ratio. We don't want any of them super high, more than the others, especially omega-6. So let me give you some examples of some of the healthy fats, okay? Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed is where you want to stay, okay? Make sure it says extra. That means it's the first processing of the olive oil. Then cold pressed, it's not heated super high, so it stays nice and stable. Coconut oil is great. Hemp seeds, sesame seeds, flax seeds, avocado oil, like all of those even can come in all oil forms, but those are some really healthy ones that we want to keep in our diet at a consistent basis. Another way that you can get it are through nuts and seeds. So the biggest thing with nuts and seeds, though, is that they need to be raw. So not roasted, salted, honey mustard, none of those things. Like try to keep them as raw as possible. That's going to keep them healthy. The reason is because a lot of times, like planters, like they're going to roast it, like they're in a factory. So they roast them up and they put them really high. And that causes the oils, the healthy oils that were once inside of an almond to break because it can't stand the amount of heat. Like it's not designed to stay healthy in that spot. Just like we can't go outside in the sun for forever and ever and ever. Like our skin changes. So does a nut that's heated really high. It starts to break those bonds that need to stay nice and solid together. We love coconut milk as another healthy fat. We use it in our smoothies almost every day. We use it in our coffee instead of creamer. So coconut milk is really great. You just want to make sure that it's full fat, unsweetened coconut milk. Those are some really great sources when it comes to plant-based healthy fats. Healthy fat is essential. Like it's not like, should we have it, should we not have it? It's very essential for our bodies. Fat doesn't actually make you fat, but what makes us fat and unhealthy are unhealthy fats and sugars. So if we can start to replace those unhealthy fats with good healthy fats that I just talked about, that is where our body, and get rid of the sugar inside, we can do that. So this is where some of you, just depending on where you're at, you have to nix that mental barrier that low fat is the way to go. So we have more low fat and low fat diets that anywhere else in the world, yet we have more obesity, more diseases, and we can't get rid of healthy fats. Our brain is a majority of healthy fats and cholesterol. Our nervous systems are made with healthy fats. Our cell membranes are surrounded in healthy fats. And so if we're depriving our bodies of those things, then our brains are not going to work properly. Our nervous systems aren't going to fire like they're supposed to. Our cells are going to start to die and not be able to communicate back and forth. And that's when disease develops. So healthy fats are good for you. They are necessary. And so it is the number one missing ingredient in our diets currently is having healthy fats. Now, the difference between like keto and plant-based is that keto is very high on like animal fat strong, where plant-based is very plant-based healthy fats that I just talked about. And having some salmon in there, good idea. We are eating fish right now every other day. Wild caught salmon, Alaskan we're doing halibut, we're doing mahi-mahi, we're doing different kinds of fish here and there so that we can increase our healthy fat intake. So make sure that we increase those. Here is another example of what I just talked about in written form. You can take a screenshot of this if you would like to. So then that way you have it. So getting rid of those unhealthy fats on the left and then creating more of those healthy fats on the right side. Extra virgin olive oil, avocados, coconut. Like the majority of our diet is right there. We got rid of butter. We're not doing actually any animal fats. So we're not doing any cheese. We're not doing any yogurt right now. We're not doing any red meat. We're doing a little bit of eggs, but we're doing mainly fish and all plant-based. It's just tough because a lot of, like on the left side where it says it's found in pretty much every bread, cracker, cookie, and boxed food, that's unhealthy. Thankfully now there exists in the world things that are made with coconut oil and avocado oil, so they don't have a lot of those ingredients. She asked, what do you use instead of butter? So we just completely cut it out. Where we used it before was in our coffee and to cook. So in our coffee, we just got rid of it and we're using cacao butter instead to make it creamier. We blend it up in our bulletproof coffee without butter, and then we just stopped using butter to cook, and we only use coconut oil and avocado oil to cook. And that's it. It was hard at first. I literally had to break a barrier to be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I not going to not eat butter? Like, are you kidding me? And it's not because it's bad. Like grass-fed butter is like really great. Kerrygold butter, super good, super healthy for you. But we got some blood work and it was like cut out all animal fats. So we did. Butter was a big one. And so we just made a decision to get rid of it and be done with it. We even have, if you want some butter, I actually have like 5 sticks of Kerrygold butter that if you want it, just let me know and you can absolutely have it. Okay. So moving on. Now, this one is a little bit of sorry, my notes are backwards here. Okay, here we go. Whole grains. It's a tough topic for me to even talk about when it comes to this. We don't eat grains at all, 0. And you can choose not to or to. But if you choose to go the whole grain route, you have to make sure that the whole grain that you are eating is not going to null and void everything that you're trying to do. And the reason is because most of the time what we think whole grain is, they'll market to us whole grain, great, awesome, wheat, do all those things. It's very highly processed. It's hybridized, which means it is genetically modified. They make it in a laboratory. They take what 2 things shouldn't go together. They basically make a hybrid. I mean, like a Prius. I mean, you think about that. They took 2 things of a thing and made this. And yes, it's great. And having a Prius is awesome, but it's not good for wheat. It's not good for whole grains to take two things that are not supposed to go together and bring them together. A lot of them are refined, and historically, the whole grains that are in the Bible that God talks about, like even like Ezekiel bread and wheat and what that looked like, it's not the same. It's not the same as what it was back then as what it is now. Like, it contains so much gluten. It contains so many carbohydrates. Like, it is not really great for our heart, even though Kellogg's cereal, Cheerios says that it is. It's not, and that's all marketing. And so when you're choosing the source of where you're getting your grains from, make sure that it is coming from its original source. So choosing things that say 100% whole grain is where you need to stick, or things like ancient grains, like Ezekiel bread or Ezekiel toast or Ezekiel cereal. Those are the ones that you want to stay in, like over any processed grains, any processed pasta, any processed whatever. Like, we want to stay away from anything that is so processed. And the reason is because when your body eats a grain, it does process like a sugar. It is carbohydrate still, that's like a vegetable. It's a very different one where once it hits the saliva inside of your body, it turns into sugar immediately. And it can have it can have a roller coaster effect on your blood sugar levels. And we don't want that, not in any way, shape, or form, even if it's allowed on a plant-based diet. And so we want them to digest a lot more slower. And so when they're less processed, they digest slower, which means that it doesn't, just like I talked about with your blood sugar levels going up like this without fiber, the same thing happens with whole grains. So try to keep your grain consumption to no more ever than 1/4 of your plate. Like, think about 1/4 of a cup. Like, that is it that your body needs when it comes to whole grains, like, or it needs none of them. So don't feel like you have to do this when you switch to plant-based. Overall, it should be no more than 2 servings of whole grains in a day on plant-based. So making sure that they are very much in moderation when it comes to grains, okay? Healthy proteins. So when it comes to healthy proteins, you can see right there on a plant-based diet, you can have chicken, you can have meat, you can have this, you can have those things. So that's why that's up there. But you can also see that there's things like lentils, there are chickpeas, there are beans, there are walnuts, there are other nuts. And so this is a big question that people have. The majority of it is when you go plant-based, it's like, how will I get all my protein? Like, will I ever have enough protein on a plant-based diet? And you are, like, as long as you take the time to be very intentional to make sure that you are having and putting enough protein into your diet, you're gonna get enough protein. But if you start to notice you're having trouble, like building muscle mass maybe, or you are just tired after the first week and a half to 2 weeks that you started this, like for the first week and a half to 2 weeks, if you're tired as you start going more plant-based, that is normal, because your body has to use a different source of fuel from where it's getting, so it's got to learn anything. But after 2 weeks, if you're just like, I have literally no energy, then yes, then maybe we need to look at how much protein that you are intaking. If you start to get moody or bone or joint pain, or you're not healing as fast as you normally would, or you're getting sicker than you normally would, like, we need to definitely talk about protein level intake. So it's okay if you're, like, if you think about what's called a complete protein, complete proteins have everything. So that is more of like meat-based complete proteins, have all the things that you need inside of it. Even if you're not getting those complete proteins, you just, as long as you're intentional with it, your body's going to have enough protein, so you should be okay. Now, there are 20 amino acids in proteins. 10 we can actually produce on our own. So 10 amino acids our body can produce on its own. The remaining 10, your body is considered is essential that you have to get from your diet. So let me say that again. There are 20 essential amino acids, or there's 20 amino acids that we need from protein. 10 of them our body can make, 10 of them we need to actually eat from our food. It is not, however, vital to make sure that at every single meal you have 20 at each one, okay? But consuming a variety of protein sources is going to be how you're going to achieve optimal health. So having a variety of plant-based foods is how you're going to make sure that you get what you need, okay? So let's go through a few of these non-meat protein sources, okay? I just got to get my little notes paper, okay? So the first one you may have never heard before in your entire life, and it is called natto. And natto is a type of fermented soybean, and it's consumed mainly in Japan. It is number one on the list because it has 31 grams of protein per 1 cup that you eat. So that's a lot of great protein that you get from a small amount. However, I usually do not recommend soy products to people due to the high prevalence of GMOs that happen with soybeans, plus the complications when it comes to acting like an estrogen, which is what soy can do, and that we don't need more estrogen in our body. However, natto is fermented, and so it helps the body process better. And usually when you eat natto, it comes from a non-GMO source, but just make sure that it does. But I think that because of that being fermented, it's worth the hype of eating it. The only problem is the smell of natto, and the texture of it is a big turnoff for a lot of people. But you don't usually eat it as like the main meal. It's usually kind of like a side thing, and the benefits that it provides is pretty significant. So give it a go if you want to. Okay, the next one is spirulina. So spirulina is an algae superfood, and this plant protein pretty much powers. It has tons of benefits your body needs. It not only provides a protein, it also helps your body detox heavy metals. They've also seen studies with spirulina for HIV and AIDS improvement and cancer prevention. And so it's not a complete protein on its own. So that was when the last time I did this, it was like, wait a second, I see spirulina, but it doesn't have 39 grams of protein, which you said it's not a complete protein. So it has proteins in it, amino acids, but just in and of itself, a serving size is anywhere from 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon. And it can be put in a smoothie really easily. It makes it turn bright green. But supplementing this inside has methionine and cysteine, which are great amino acids that your body needs, and being able to have a high amount of glutamine. So all these amino acids that are inside of this, spirulina is a big one. The next one is tempeh. Tempeh is also a source of an Indonesian soybean, fermented. It's one of the best plant proteins. I don't have a lot of tempeh because we're eating fish, but I do love me some tempeh. I love buffalo style tempeh. It is delicious. And this one, tempeh, is 8 grams of protein a serving. This is a complete protein. And so you can use it a different way. You can cut it up and saute it. Some people can boil it. You can bake it. You can put coconut aminos on it, and it becomes like a teriyaki type of a tempeh. So this is kind of like a chicken substitute, steak substitute, but I love it. I actually really love it. There's a restaurant called Wild Cow, and my very favorite thing to eat if I go anywhere, are Reubens. I love Reubens so much, but they have a tempeh Reuben. You can also get it seitan, but I don't recommend seitan at all because it's straight gluten. We get tempeh all the time, so if you have are there, choose tempeh usually. And it is absolutely delicious. Their tempeh, that's a cheat meal though, but it's really, really yummy. Okay, next, nutritional yeast. So you can see right in that corner right there is nutritional yeast. Upper right-hand corner is nutritional yeast. So I should tell you, the bottom left-hand corner picture that's kind of like sticky, that is natto. That's what it looks like. Kind of looks like baked beans with cheese, but don't let that fool you. It is not cheese. And the one on the right with that knife cutting through is what tempeh looks like. So let's talk about nutritional yeast. Don't let this name fool you. Like, this yeast isn't the same as what you think yeast is, like not to bake bread or like candida yeast. Like, it's not going to do anything like that. The nutritional yeast only contains about 9 grams of protein per serving. However, unlike most like plant foods where I talked about how you can have a B vitamin deficiency, nutritional yeast uses fortified vitamin B12. So if you use this on a consistent basis, you usually use it like a condiment. It kind of tastes like cheese. It is not cheese, so don't let that fool you. It doesn't melt like cheese, but we usually put it on salads or on roasted or baked vegetables, like on top of it. We love it as a condiment. Then we have pumpkin seeds. So pumpkin seeds, I just brought some. I have a handful of pumpkin seeds every single day. They contain about 12 grams of protein. They are also a complete protein source. They're high in healthy fats, magnesium, lysine, zinc. That's why I do it, is I was deficient in magnesium and zinc, and so I have a handful of pumpkin seeds every single day. We usually put them on salads, or I just eat them as a snack straight up. Next one are hemp seeds. I'm going to go a little bit quicker. I just realized it's 6:35. Hemp seeds, they have 9 grams of protein per serving. They are very much high in gamma-linoleic acid, which is also an amino acid. That's a big reason that they have a lot of the health benefits that they do, because it helps reduce inflammation and also helps multiple sclerosis. So having hemp seeds. Amaranth that you see right there is a whole grain. So amaranth is an ancient grain. So if you're going to do a grain, amaranth would be a pretty good one to look into. It's a history in the Aztecs. They used grains as a form of their nutrition. It's a complete protein. It only gives you 9 grams of protein per serving, but there's also the 100% of your daily intake of manganese, which is a mineral that you want inside. Quinoa, it's another like ancient grain. It's not technically a grain. They call it a pseudo cereal. It's like, some people say it's a grain, some people say it's a seed. I actually don't do very well with quinoa, so just watch your body, see if your body does okay with that. If it doesn't, don't do it. There's 8 grams of protein per serving, which is really, really good. It's pretty much a plant-based food staple for most people. Black beans. Black beans are a complete protein. They offer 15 grams of protein per serving. They also have lysine and leucine, which are 2 amino acids that are found primarily, they're branched chain amino acids, significant for weight loss and metabolism management. So help keep you full a little bit longer. I don't do very well with beans, so I don't eat those. But green peas, your mom was right when she said to eat peas back in the day, but they have 9 grams of protein per serving. They also contain a lot of fiber, which is help your body decrease the risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes. Lentils, they are part of the legume family. They provide 18 grams of protein, which is awesome. They do also technically contain all 20 amino acids inside of them. Lentils do, which is pretty cool. Some of the other ones that you don't see right here, like buckwheat, chia seeds, Ezekiel bread, chickpeas, lima beans. They are also great sources of protein. And then if you're going to do a protein powder, like smoothies sound better to you, make sure that you do a good, healthy protein powder. We love the Perfect Plant Protein. It has 20 grams of protein inside of it in one scoop, and you can put your fresh fruit in there. You can put some vegetables in there. You can have all of your sources in a smoothie, in a shake, instantly get all the things that you need that might help as you're starting to transition into cooking more plant-based. So again, if you need any products, let the girls know at that 615-927-4571. Water and unsweetened drinks. So these are where I would stay. Like, try not to go too outside of the box when it comes to this. We must consume enough water and enough fluids and stay hydrated. The majority of the world, you wouldn't realize, but we are chronically dehydrated. Like, most people are. We're not drinking enough fluids, or we're drinking fluids that are dehydrating us, or they're full of sugar and our bodies aren't getting all the water that it needs. So when you're doing this, drink plenty of plain water or water with lemon inside of it squeezed, or lime or cucumbers, like keeping it very simple, but making sure that we're having enough water, and then keeping it to just herbal teas or green tea or black tea, just depending, but don't put anything inside of it. Like, watch your caffeine intake, of course, and then keeping your coffee in moderation, keeping the rest of drinks besides water in moderation, avoiding all sweetened drinks. So that means like most juices, like milk has a lot of sugar in it, if you didn't know, like sweet teas, alcohol, like keeping those out of your diet as you transition into this. Making sure that you're doing this will also help with any like hunger pangs that you might have as you start to transition into eating this way. Like, you might not even actually be hungry, you might just be thirsty. But I want to recognize this is because if we're drinking other things besides what our body needs and what it's mainly made of, then we're going to start to see some issues. And it's not actually the food that's the problem. It's the drinking stuff that we're putting in our bodies that's the problem, that's making us might feel sick. Yes, stevia is okay in your tea, Sharon, absolutely. Honey is not considered vegan. It is considered plant-based, but I want that to be way moderated because it's still sugar. So we want to keep a lot of that out of our diet. Here is how to actually start to incorporate this. So how do you really eat a plant-based diet? Think in terms of portions and approximate servings. So 1/3 to 1/2 of your plate in vegetables every meal. So that's like a non-negotiable. The remainder split into healthy fats, proteins, and grains. So you can see how you can customize this to however you want it to be. A lot of times, though, it's mindful eating. So making sure that you're just very mindful of what's going on your plate, what's going in your mouth, and that you're thinking about what you're eating. You're not just eating to eat, but what's going on inside of your body. Balancing. Like looking at your plate and being like, is this a balanced plate? Or is it not? Am I too heavy on the meat? Like, is there just way too much meat on here? Was there way too much pasta on here? Is there way too much of this? Making sure that it is very balanced. And then reducing any processed and packaged foods. The more that you're gonna do that, the more that your body is plant-based, the more that your body is it's like easier digesting inside of your body. It's not trying to break down any chemicals or things that they're putting in the processed and packaged foods. Okay, screenshot that or write that down. And then here is an easy recipe that we love, hummus. I actually don't do very well with chickpeas, so we make this in a variety of different ways. What I love though about hummus itself is like, I just made beet hummus without any chickpeas, and it was so yummy and so good. We made this like Greek Mediterranean chicken. We had some green beans and add hummus, and then parsnips as like fries, and put some beet hummus on it, and it was so good. But hummus can be made in so many different ways, have so many different spices that you can make it taste one way, put roasted red peppers in it, do all that, and it's a great snack, but it's also a great way to get some raw vegetables in there by chopping up some raw veggies and eating it with like celery or bell peppers or carrots, and having that as an easy snack that gets you full of protein. So one of the biggest and common beliefs is I don't need to take supplements because I can get adequate amounts of nutrients from my diet alone. This is a very common belief, but I'm going to tell you the way that our food is made from the soil, but I'm going to tell you, like, cooking and preparing it, for example, starts to deprive our bodies of, or the food that we're eating and our bodies of the nutrients. So cooking, water-soluble vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin B, they all, like when you're grilling food, diminishes B vitamins up to 40%. Canned food removes much of the nutrients from their foods, especially those that are water soluble, because they come out in the water. So the way that we cook and have and prepare different foods, our bodies start to lose that nutrient. So when it comes to the quality of our food, it does affect the nutrient content, not only the way that it is cultivated and the fertilizers and the pesticides and all of that. Also, the way that we cook it causes nutrient depletion inside of our fruits and our vegetables. And so when it comes to that, the best thing that I can suggest to you is to just have a daily essential vitamin pack. Take it. It's in there. You're good. You're changing your food and your nutrients. Like, I don't want you to keep eating the same way and taking all of these vitamins. We need to absolutely change our food and then create more nutrients on top of it. And I'm going to tell you, these daily essential packs have been a game changer in our household, because I will take convenience over anything, like when it comes to health this way, because there's a lot of things that I have to think about in the day. And if I can just grab a pack and put it in my body and drink some water, and I have all the daily vitamins that I need, done. Sign me up, instead of opening up every bottle. First of all, remembering to take my vitamins to begin with, but opening all the bottles, putting them in, putting them there, and then taking them. It's difficult. I've done it. And when these daily essentials came out, I was like, praise the Lord. So what's inside of them is, depending on, of course, if you're a male or a female, you will either get a men's multi or a women's multi that is on the inside of them. And I love these multivitamins because they absolutely are whole food. So they come from a source where it's not synthetic at all. And the other part is that if you're a woman, there's like breast health concoctions inside of there. There is uterus, like our brain, like all of that. There is a formula inside of there that helps support that. For men, it's like prostate health, your heart health. So there are specific for a man and a woman, which I love. It doesn't just go from your basic vitamins, like it has specific things to target for our bodies that we need. And the other vitamin that's inside of there is a B complex with delayed release. And this is methylated B. That's the biggest thing that you want to know when you're taking a B complex, is that it is methylated. If you know anything about MTHFR gene, if you have that, you have to take methylated B. Otherwise, your body doesn't absorb it at all. But B vitamins, this is the one where if you're going to get rid of meat completely, you absolutely should be taking a B vitamin. Their B vitamins are also very much depleted during stress. So if we don't have enough B vitamins and we're stressed, or if we're stressed out, then we're most likely running through our B vitamins faster. So taking a supplement with the delayed release. So then when you need it, your body can take it. When it doesn't need it, it won't take it. And that way you have enough of that inside of your body. Optimal omega. So this is where we talk about having the right omega ratio. So having an optimal omega and taking one every single day, having those essential fatty acids, making sure that you are balanced. Optimal omega is inside of that daily packet as well. And then there's also the magnesium glycinate. So this is the second most abundant vitamin inside of our body, in our cells especially. And so there's over 300 different biochemical reactions in the body that support and need magnesium. That is like your nerve and muscle function, magnesium is needed. Your immune system, a magnesium is needed. Your cardiovascular, your heart needs magnesium. Your bone strength needs magnesium. Metabolism needs magnesium, and so much more needs magnesium inside of your body. So making sure that you have enough magnesium inside of your body is a very good idea. How much magnesium do you take? I just learned this from my nurse practitioner, and she said 5 times your body weight in milligrams of magnesium is what you need. So I was actually taking way less than what I needed. And so making sure that it has a glycinate or an amino acid attached to it helps your body absorb it better. And then vitamin D3 plus probiotics. Most of us know how important vitamin D3 is, so we want to have that on a daily basis, especially if we work inside and we're not getting outside in the sun. And now that the sun is going down because it's past Labor Day and here fall comes, the sun is not out, so we need to make sure that we are taking vitamin D3 every single day, 5,000 to 10,000 IUs, especially even into flu season, corona, all that stuff. Making sure that your immune system is boosted is a big factor of where vitamin D3 comes in. We love the fact that it has probiotics. It helps the body digest and absorb vitamin D3 even better. So that's what's inside of the entire Daily Essentials packet. One packet, you take all of those, get all of your daily things like you need to. You can buy them individually if you'd like to. You save money if you don't, of course, but you can buy each one of them individually. Each one of them will be still 15% off, but so will the packet. And you can let the girls know that too. Coming in to wrap it up, foods to avoid when you are doing plant-based is number 1, anything that contains processed carbs and sugars. Cupcake is a perfect example. That is an entirely processed food right there, but things that are in packages and full of sugar, like we want to keep those out. Another thing are sugar substitutes. That means like Splenda, artificial sweeteners, sweet and low. Even some stevias have dextrose in them, which is sugar. So we want to make sure we read all of the ingredients in the labels, which I'll talk about here next. Anything containing trans fats. So I'm just going to put that in a lump of that table that I showed you of unhealthy fats. Anything on that side, get rid of it. Don't have it part of your body. It'll start to break down your brain, your nervous system, and your cells. Anything that contains fats that turn rancid. So that's also anything on that unhealthy fat side. Rancid means that where something was like this and together like it was designed, broke apart, and it became unhealthy. So that's what the word rancid means. Another thing is rancid, when you take olive oil and you heat it up too high and it starts to smoke, that is where the bond that was healthy, so good for you, olive oil, went like this and broke apart, and then it became unhealthy. That's when something healthy becomes unhealthy. And then the last one, any type of highly processed food, we want to get rid of it completely. So if it's not real food, do not put it in your body. How do we do this? You have to read every label on everything that you buy. Every label that has every food that you have that has a label has to be read. So worry more when you're reading a label about what the ingredients are. So the very first thing that I read on a label is how much sugar is inside of it. The second thing is I look at the ingredients. So I want you to worry more about the ingredients types more than the amounts of what it says on that nutrition label. You want things that are natural. You want to be able to read what the ingredient is. You want to understand what kind of food it is. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. That is a chemical. So we get rid of that completely. Then beware of any questionable marketing. Do not just go to the front part where it says organic and all natural. Always go to the ingredients, what is inside of it. They have spent thousands and millions of dollars marketing to us, so we want to make sure that we don't get duped. Shopping. When you're shopping and doing this, plan your meals for the week. Nikki just came on. If you just see all of these notes right here, I made a plant-based vegan meal plan, so no meat at all whatsoever. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, you will get that there, and then you can click on the link to all of the recipes at the very bottom. Plan your meals. If you need a starter, start there. Take a list with you. Make sure that you have a list that you're going through and going from, and you're not just like haphazardly going through the store and buying things. Keep the basics stocked for any meals on the fly. So have chickpeas available, have quinoa available, have tempeh available, have all those things so that you can just quickly make something if you need be. Spend more time planning and shopping than cooking. So planning all of that. I used to want to make a meal different every single time. Now I don't. I'm just like, how do I make the easiest meal with what we have, with the best whole food ingredients, and make it quickly? Like right now we have some chicken in buffalo sauce like that we made that's healthy. We know the ingredients that are inside of it. And tonight I'm just going to saute it up, and we are having a salad with like carrots and arugula salad all together mixed, and we're eating it right on top of it. Easy, no big deal. Read labels, all labels, and use that pesticide guide from the environmental working group when you're doing this. I think the biggest thing that you can do, though, is establish a value system for yourself. Your actions are going to speak so loudly that we will not be able to hear what you say. Like by you creating these lifestyle habits, you're going to avoid 90% of the diseases that Americans face. I'm going to repeat that. By you changing lifestyle habits that you're doing right now, you are going to prevent 90% of the diseases that Americans face on a daily basis by changing the food that we're putting inside of our bodies. And you can do it. You can. It's one foot in front of the other. It's also saying no to different things. It's like, where are my priorities? Where are my values? My values are in my health. My values are my family's health. And so being able to say no to certain things and start to drive out of not going into the drive-thru, and don't do it. Don't turn in there. Don't grab onto the chips. Don't do those things. Keep like this right here in the grocery store, in places that you do that long enough and the value system sticks. But we have to start getting rid of and weeding out all of those barriers that we're going through. And each one and each decision that we make becomes easier and easier each and every single time. The only question that I see on here that I haven't answered is Sharon. She asked about potatoes. So here's my thoughts on potatoes. If you're going to eat potatoes, they need to be sweet potatoes. But sweet potatoes, they do still have they starch in them, so they can be higher in starch. So for some, if weight loss is a goal for you, getting rid of what are called like tubers and starches are a good idea. So getting rid of any potatoes, so any sweet potatoes, any regular russet potatoes, red potatoes, all that, just getting those out of your diet for a period of time is a good idea. I use parsnips and rutabaga instead. Like if I need that, or cauliflower mashed potatoes if I need that. So there's great substitutes. Sweet potatoes are hard because they're in a lot of health recipes, but having them in moderation is a good idea. You can do that too. But if weight loss is a goal, you want to keep those slow digesting carbohydrates out of your diet for a period of time. Okay? So don't miss what's coming up next. Friends and Family Day is on September 23rd. This month. So any of your friends or your family, or if you're listening and you've never been to our office or been checked of what it looks like, what we do on that day, special day, we love it. Everything is discounted. The initial cost is usually $100, but we discount it down to just $40, but we give it 100% to the Wild Indigo program, which is a prison program that we love dearly, and we support them because they teach mind, body, soul, spirit health for the women that are incarcerated here in Nashville, and help them to have a place to not only feel safe and at home, but all the resources that they need when they get out and the support that they need, which I love. The next nutrition thing that we have is paleo. So this was my first webinar that we did back, I think April, May. But I'm still going to do it again. Even though it already exists, I'm going to do it again, watch it live. So if there's any other questions, you can watch paleo nutrition webinar Tuesday, October 13th. And then I am so excited for this one. Fearless Immunity. It's a master class. We're so pumped about this. It's on Saturday, October 24th. We're going to do in person in our office and online. It's going to be a longer one. So if you're watching online, you're just going to have to hang tight with us and watch. It's going to be awesome though. We'll have an intermission in the middle, so you will have a break in the middle, but we are going to go through a fearless immunity. We're going to talk about viruses. Like, we're going to talk about our immune system, how powerful it is, so that you don't have to fear your immune system not being able to fight things or get over things or what that looks like. But not only that, but how to boost your natural defenses inside of your body so that your body can be the strongest that it's ever been and continue to become stronger without any fear of anything taking over. So that registration though, it won't open until October 1st at noon. Of course, we're going to be limited, but we don't know that number yet. You'll know when we know. And we'll also make sure that you stay updated on everything else that is coming up in our office in the future. Anything else? Key, I need a plethora of ideas. My computer is, you guys got to give me a minute, and I'm at 1%. So hold 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I'm so sorry before it dies. Okay, sorry, y'all. Real life issues. Okay. Plethora of ideas to cook so I'm not eating the same thing over and over again and I get intimidated when recipes seem difficult. So if you go to that vegan meal plan that I gave you, it goes straight to my Pinterest board. And I have tons. Like, my Pinterest stuff is, that's where I get all of my recipes. But I try to pin everything. I've pinned all my meal plans for the last kind of couple months. And you can go on there and see the recipes that I have. But I try to, recently I haven't like put them into category of like vegan, vegetarian, but I do have them in the past. Like, we ate raw for an entire year. So I have a ton of raw food recipes. I have paleo, keto, you name it. There's a ton of recipes that are on my Pinterest board that I try to keep as simple as possible. Every week I usually, I just made a Whole30 pumpkin bread because we need a snack also in the week that we can just quickly take and have with us. So I try to do that in every meal plan that I do, but you can look around on that. Feel free to, if you have any questions or if you have a recipe that you're like, how do I make this healthy? Let me know. That's what I've spent the last 10 years of my life doing, is figuring out how I can have vegan pizza, vegetarian pizza, keto pizza, paleo pizza, fried chicken, chicken fingers. Like, how can I have all of these like comfort food type bread? Like, how do I have bread? How do I have crackers? How do I have cookies in a healthy way, especially when the cravings hit, because they're coming, and to be able to do that in a healthy way. How do you celebrate birthdays? How do you do all of that? It's possible. It's very, very possible. So that's where I would start. That's where I recommend. Lately, I have done, if I'm on Pinterest, I will say Whole30, because Whole30 seems to be a very, very clean, very, very clean diet, if you will, nutrition plan that does really good in our household. And so I'll put like Whole30 recipe zucchini, like if that's what I have in my fridge that I need to find a recipe for, and then I'll find literally the easiest one to do, or one that I'm like, I'm making one hard recipe this week, but gyros out of turkey, ground turkey. So we'll see how that goes. Wish me luck. I'm super excited about this webinar too. I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be awesome. Dr. Michael and I are getting it ready. It's going to be really, really good. All right. I love you guys. If you have any other questions, please, I'm going to put my email right here at drcassie@majorfamilychiropractic.com. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you all, guide you through this, because I know that you're going to have hiccups, you're going to fail, you're going to get back up, and you're going to keep going because you're worth it. Your health is worth it, and I believe in you. And even if it's just me believing in you, that's okay. But you can believe in you too. All right. I love you guys. We will talk to you soon.